As every scuba diver knows, panic is your worst enemy. When it hits, your mind starts to thrash and you are likely to do something really stupid and self-destructive. The Clinton paradox: how could a president so intelligent, so compassionate, so public-spirited and so conscious of his place in history act in such a stupid, selfish and self-destructive manner? I can be very self-destructive, but quietly. I feel connected to my generation through the music, but I also fear for us. We're in a very self-destructive state where we're addicted to outside opinions and we all feel like we have fans. I guess I'm rather self-destructive, and I like to give other people who are self-destructive a song to sing. I definitely have a real self-destructive streak. The thing is, it's not uncool to worry about people who seem like they're going on the wrong path. There's nothing cool about being self-destructive. There's a lot psychologically going on in boxing. I think I relate to some of it. I have a respect for it. It's like performing, but it's also this crazy, self-destructive thing. This is what I am. I have periods of enormous self-destructive depression, where I go completely off my trolley and lose all sight of reality and reason. I hate being forced to do things. I hate people telling me what to do, so I'll do the complete opposite. It's a bit self-destructive sometimes. And when I get bored, it's like the worst parts of me come out. I really veer to self-destructive tendencies quickly. I am a self-destructive idiot. America's greatness has been the greatness of a free people who shared certain moral commitments. Freedom without moral commitment is aimless and promptly self-destructive. I was always drawn to the self-destructive kind of way. I thought there was something beautiful about it. I don't know why. Feminists who say that I switched sides because I am an opportunist should know that exactly the opposite is true. It's cost me a lot of money. I've gone from being well-to-do to being $70,000 in debt. I have done something self-destructive financially. I could only do it because I don't have to support a wife and child. Anorexia is a self-destructive thing, and you become stubborn, so when people are trying to tell you something, you get it into your head that they're against you, and you're not going to listen. Hate is indeed self-destructive, and this is what real hip-hop must avoid at all cost. A lot of people just ask me about how I can do small budgets and big budgets, but many actors do both. I think the more self-destructive impulse I have is doing so many different characters. Democrats cannot win elections without capturing the votes of independent-minded swing voters. And that is where writing off the Tea Party as a bunch of racist kooks becomes self-destructive. The Tea Party outrage over health care reform, deficit spending and entitlements run amok is no fringe concern. But successful investors tend to be not too self-destructive. They tend to be patient, they tend not to follow the crowd, and they tend not to be too guilty about winning. We are stubborn, self-destructive conformists. Any other view of our species is just a self-congratulatory delusion. I was a big party guy in my 20s, and kind of a playboy as well. I adopted a lot of values and goals that were fairly superficial and, in many cases, self-destructive. They looked cool and sounded sexy on the surface, but underneath, there was no real meaning going on, just a lot of escapism. I don't think of sex as a self-destructive impulse. Limit your inputs to only those that support a certain kind of self-destructive behavior, and you can be cheered with enthusiasm as you drive yourself off a cliff. It's not uncool to worry about people who seem like they're going on the wrong path. There's nothing cool about being self-destructive. As soon as you tell me to do one thing, I do the opposite. As soon as someone tells me not to get any more tattoos, I have this intense fire burning inside me to cover myself with them. I don't care if it's self-destructive, I just have that need to rebel. I have a tendency to dip my foot in self-destructive behavior. Sometimes it would be nice to just have some red wine with dinner, but it's not worth the risk. I have a great life, a great situation. Why would I want to risk self-destructive behavior? I have a pathological fear of being on my own. When I'm with my own thoughts, I start to unravel myself, and I start to think really dark thoughts, self-destructive thoughts. We imagine going to the moon and planting a flag, going to an asteroid and mining, going to Mars and setting up a colony. And I think that expansionist mentality is very self-destructive, especially given the kind of precarious relationship we now have to the ecosystem here on Earth, because it allows us to imagine that Earth is disposable. I'd been drifting and in a very self-destructive bent ever since my mother died, and as soon as I dealt with the grief, for the first time in 10 years, I had clarity and I realized, I need to make a movie, now. 'Cause if I don't make it now, I might never do it. That's what pushed me forward, and I immediately moved to Vancouver. I think the main thing I remembered throughout all of filming it was just that she just was extremely self-destructive. I think everybody can relate to that a little bit. She doesn't like herself. We can all be self-destructive. I make terrible choices all the time. It's uncomfortable to admit that you did a thing that was selfish and that you knew would hurt someone else. Even cynical, selfish people will realize, one way or the other, that it's not in their self-interest to act in self-destructive ways. It's been said to me that I'm self-destructive because I'll walk away from things that are good. I am not self-destructive. I am not a person who wants to die. I didn't love Jim Morrison, 'cause he was self-destructive. I loved him because of his work, because of the way he merged poetry and rock and roll, because he did something new. I'm not a 21-year-old angsty self-destructive rapscallion anymore. No one in the group was really growing up besides me, which is pretty weird, 'cause there was no one in that group more self-destructive than I was. I am absolutely and inherently self-destructive in that I am always making sure I'm doing what I want to do. I think we all carry the seeds of our own destruction. You really have to be aware that just because something is good, it doesn't mean it's not going to trigger a self-destructive impulse. I've been a Nick Cave fan since the early 80s when he was part of the Birthday Party Things singing Australian self-destructive rock band, and I've always followed his work and loved it. Don't waste so much time thinking about how much you weigh. There is no more mind-numbing, boring, idiotic, self-destructive diversion from the fun of living. Anything you can do that's self-destructive in Vegas, whatever that is, I do it. I was really, really wild in my early 20s and a bit self-destructive. For many years, I struggled with how I felt about myself. I hid and harbored very self-destructive eating issues, namely anorexia, which at its worst caused me to lose half of my hair and brought my weight down dramatically. I find drug use disrespectful, self-destructive, and weak. I want no part of it. Racism built me into a person that was set up to be self-destructive. There was a much more self-destructive nature in appetite. It was a going for it at all cost thing that worked then. I'm incredibly self-destructive. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.